and the ngalaba nke the region and human relations. I na-ekene maka ya bụ ọnọdụ. Ọ na-ekenekwe n'isi onye na-akwụkwọ anyị, onye na-achị anyị bụ acting vice chancellor and chancellor anyị bụ Kate Azuka Omenoga. Na-ekene isi ndị ya na ya na-achị. Na-ekenekwe n'isi onye ọbụla nọ n'ụlọ akwụkwọ anụnwa ma nkụzi ma ụmụ akwụkwọ. N'isi din fakọlti anyị bụ eze ogidi ma n'isi ndị nkụzi anyị niile. Wee na-ayọzi n'isi ndị na-ebịala ọnọdụ anụnwa n'isi ndị Godlight na ndị human just department. Wana azụ ya bụ Chukwu ka ọ bịa nọnyela anyị na emume nke ya eme n'ụbọchị tata ka anyị si na ya mụta ihe ka ife nwanụ na-egwu okwu ya na Chukwu jikọlụ ka ọ chekwasị n'ime anyị mee ka anyị ma ihe ya na-amarọ ka anyị onye anyị ọgụgụ isi ihe anyị ma emechie ya ka anyị si na ya nweta agamniru na university anyị anụnwa si na university afọ university anyị anaghị na mba niile ndị mmadụ ama na anyị na ya ihe ya mụta ka anyị tinye ya n'ọrụ ka Chukwu gozie ọjị a gozikwa anyị ya tia ka Chukwu taa ya n'otu ka anyị bụ ụmụ ya taa ya n'ibe na Jọs kasị bụ onye nwe anyị.
Bikonu, I am Godlight. I must watch this only be a Bikonu, not Jesus.
Music. Play down. Please, I want to ask for a special favor. You know, this what we are doing now is an international thing. Those there may not be captured. So I plead with you to come close so that we capture all of us and make it beautiful. Okay, this place is okay. Please come. And that you come and join this side. What happens in the sister, they can have your hajj. Beketeni here. Or the sister, Beketeni. Can you? So that I capture share of man. We are sending this thing out. We are going to send this program out. It's even going out live. Open up my live. Because gata neba and they are gata neba. Can you? Akonyo chairman nunca neku. Ama no takwa ifa neku. Let's come close and be one. Because can you neighbor come this way? Huh? There what? Only na kwegu. unu kụọ ya na egwu na-agbazi unu egbe unu gbara oge egwu ka anyị chọrọ achọghị egbe biko. Okay, thank you very much. Chairman, gbapụ ya ọsọ.
Please permit me to recognize the presence of Professor Daniel Chichima, the coordinator of Godlight Makodi. Please, sir, you are welcome. Come to the... Yes, please, your seat is here. Please put your hands together for him. The music department.
Bless this house, O Lord, we pray. Make it safe by night and day. Bless the walls so firm and stout, keeping wood and the trouble out. Bless the road that leads on. Keep us free from sorrow and sorrow. Bless us all that we may be ever open to joy and love. Bless these windows, shining tight, breathing in God's heavenly light. Bless the soul, a blessing there, the smoke ascending like a prayer. Bless those that dwell within, keep us free from sin and gloom. Bless us all that we may be fit, O Lord, to dwell with you. Bless us all that someday we may dwell, O Lord, with
Put your hands together for them. Please, at this point, our partners have joined this conference. They have logged in. So we are going to be reading the profile of the keynote speaker before his address. So please, may I humbly invite Professor Sister Noel Eze to come and read the profile of our sponsor. Put your hands together for her.
Citation of Dr. Bart Bartlemy. Dr. Bart Bartlemy is the founding director of the Wright Brothers Institution and the president of the Collaborative Innovation Institute. Dr. Bartlemy was the national director of the National Aerospace Plane Program, where he reported to the White House and was responsible for the development of the nation's hypersonic aerospace plane. While a member of the Federal Senior Executive Service, he served as the technical director of the Air Force Wright Aeronautical Laboratories at the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio, the Air Force's largest research and development complex. He has been a consultant to a variety of aerospace industry companies and federal government organizations, including Lockheed Martin, Boeing, the Department of Defense, and the Air Force Research Laboratory. Dr. Bartlemy was a visiting scientist at the Software Engineering Institute and Carnegie Mellon University, an adjunct professor at the University of Dayton. Bart's educational background includes a Bachelor of Science in Chemical Engineering from MIT, Master of Science in Nuclear Engineering and Physics from MIT, and a Doctor of Philosophy in Nuclear Physics and Mechanical Engineering from the Ohio State University. Thank you.
Please, we can do better. Let's put our hands together for her. Thank you very much, our home professor. Please, the music department.
Ojukwu, he has done it for me. While I was worried I couldn't. Oh, he has done it for me. Even before I prayed, Jehovah Nissi answered me.
Music Department. Please, may I humbly invite Reverend Father Professor Silvanus Noroka to come and give us the opening remarks of the Acting Vice Chancellor. Please put your hands together for him.
My dear friends, with humility and profound respect, I have accepted to read out the address of our acting Vice Chancellor. And here it goes. Address of the acting Vice Chancellor, Chukwuemeka Odumegwu Ojukwu University, formerly Anambra State University, Professor Keita Menowa, FNIPR, on Godlight International Conference, Nigeria 2025, in collaboration with the Department of Religion and Human Relations, Chukwuemeka Odumegwu Ojukwu University, holding from Wednesday 26th to Saturday 29th March 2025 in the Third Fund Auditorium, Ibariam campus. On behalf of the Governing Council, management staff and students, I joyfully welcome you all to our great institution, Chukwuemeka Odumegwu Ojukwu University, formerly Anambra State University, for the Godlight International Conference, Nigeria 2025, in collaboration with the Department of Religion and Human Relations. Chukwuemeka Odumegwu Ojukwu University, the now university and of the future, is a state-owned institution established in year 2000 to solve the homogeneous needs of Ndi Anambra and beyond, who crave for quality higher education. A university with 3 campuses at Oka, Ibariam, and Uli had over the years impacted positively on the lives of many graduates that passed through it, who are doing remarkably well in their various careers. We have also won several laurels in diverse areas, including sciences, engineering, law, humanities, management and social sciences, etc., both by the staff and students. The Ibarian campus, venue of this conference, sits on a very expanse of arable land with serene environment, good for academic activities, as it is devoid of several distractions. I therefore implore you, especially our visitors, both local and international, who probably may be visiting this part of the world or country for the first time, to relax and be at home and enjoy the quietness and serenity of the environment, as well as the hospitality of our people. Conferences are vital arms of learning, academic growth and excellence, during which pressing issues are discussed and solutions preferred. The Godlight International Conference Nigeria 2025 is very crucial because of what the foundation represents and the impact it has already made globally. The foundation has been in the forefront of promoting personal growth, community engagement, and a deep comprehension of faith and spirituality. It believes in the transformative power of spirituality and aims to provide a supportive environment for personal exploration and connections among like-minded individuals. Furthermore, the foundation seems to foster hope, connection, collaborations, and purpose, especially for those facing various life challenges through conferences, workshops, community events, trainings, and resources for personal and collective growth. It is important to state that the objectives of the foundation is in line with the agenda of Mr. Governor of Anambra State in areas of human capital development, provision of resources, basic amenities, and enabling environment for a livable and prosperous Anambra. In Chukwuemeka Ojukwu University, we are international about creating enabling environment to assist everyone to rise and showcase their potentials. Through our vision of 3 V's, value, viability, and visibility, we are committed to promoting individual growth, community engagements, and collaboration to be able to face squarely our common challenges and prefer solutions accordingly. The theme of this conference, which is Humanities and Science in Contemporary World Order, is appropriate, especially in this period, whereby the entire global village is faced with diverse challenges that need collaborations and cross-pollination of ideas from every discipline to provide desired solutions. I do hope that this conference will be able to address the issue adequately, considering the quality and experiences of the speakers and discussants. I therefore implore everyone to call it a duty to participate keenly and actively in order to achieve the purpose of this conference. It is my desire that the impact of this academic exercise held in our university will be remarkable. The most important aspect of conference as this is the need to transfer acquired knowledge to others so that the influence would gradually be felt by others over time. It is my honor to profoundly appreciate and welcome on behalf of the council, management staff, and students, Mr. Governor of Anambra State and visitor to the university, Professor Charles Chukwuemeka, CFR, for his presence at this occasion despite his tight schedules. Mr. Governor has been very supportive to us through the release of subvention and funds for both recurrent and capital expenditures, timely intervention, and prompt approval of our requests, which have assisted immensely the growth of the university. I also convey my appreciations to the keynote speaker, Dr. Bart Bartholomew, founder and executive director, Godlight Foundation USA, for accepting this noble role. I will not end without expressing my gratitude to the chair and members of the local organizing committee and every other person who had, in one way or the other, worked diligently towards the success of this conference. May the good Lord reward you abundantly. May I once more welcome everyone to this conference and wish you a wonderful session throughout the duration of the program and your stay in our lovely state, Anambra, the light of the nation. And may your return to your homes and respective cities and countries be hitch-free. Professor Kate Azuka Omenowa, FNIPR, Acting Vice Chancellor. Thank you.
Please, let's put our hands together for him once more. Thank you very much, Prof. Please, we have 5 minutes for our keynote address. person to join us online. So I want to invite the music department to give us just 2 minutes cool music while we are waiting for the founder and CEO of Godlight Foundation, Dr. Bartholomew. Two minutes.
Never seen this kind God before. Wonder, 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 wonder. I've never seen this kind God before. 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 This God, no, oh, this God, no, oh, this God, no, oh, this God, no, oh, oh, I've never seen this kind God before. I have never seen this kind God before. I have never seen this kind God before. This God, no, oh, this God, no, oh, I've never seen this kind God before. Never seen this kind God before. I have never seen this kind God before.
Thank you very much, the music department. I think our Dr. Bartholomew is here with us. So please, you are welcome, sir. Let us stay calm and listen to his keynote address. Thank you very much.
Replay. Okay, so say yes now.
Say yes.
Now, can you hear us?
Can you hear us now?
Yes.
Yes?
I can see the green.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't know what happened.
Okay, very good.
Sorry.
Would you like me to begin my presentation? Yes, we can hear you now.
Good. So yes, meaning yes, begin the presentation?
I'm going to begin the presentation.
They'll share it. Are they going to share? Are they sharing in the room? The slides? Can you ask if they're sharing the slides in the room? Can you ask them if they're sharing the slides?
Are you sharing the slides in the room?
I don't see that microphone anymore. I feel like it went away. You know how it was green and now it's not there? Oh, there. Yeah. Oh, there you go.
Okay.
They'll put it in slideshow mode, I think.
We'll wait to see if they do.
There.
There we go. Okay.
Look at the curtain. I love it.
All right.
Yeah, slideshow.
Hey.
Beautiful.
Hello. Hello from America. Hello, Nigeria. Okay, I'm going to begin my presentation now. If you can't hear me, please let me know in the chat, but I'm assuming that you can. Thank you so much for having this conference. Sister Mary, of course, has been the pioneer in making this conference a success. So I certainly would like to acknowledge her, and we'll do more of that later. But let me start with kind of an overview of Godlight. I'd like to start with actually an exercise. Get comfortable in your seat. Get comfortable in your seat, and then close your eyes. Close your eyes, okay? What do you see? Well, most of you will see nothing. Darkness. Maybe as you close your eyes, you see some flashes of light, but eventually it'll be dark. With your eyes closed, of course, the eyelids are covering the pupils of your eyes, so no light can get in. You're in the dark. You're in the dark even though it's self-imposed with your eyes closed. How does that feel? How does it feel to be in the dark, not having any light hitting you? Of course it is, but it's not hitting your eyes. You're in the dark, and how does it feel? Not good, okay? It's not the place where you want to be. Now open your eyes. Open your eyes and get used to the light. If you open your eyes quickly, and there's a lot of light in the conference room, it's going to be kind of overwhelming. But as you look at the different things that light is bouncing off of, the different people, the different objects, you're in the light. And that's where we want to be. And so thank you for doing this little exercise, but I couldn't think of a better way of contrasting being in the dark and being in the light. And of course, this entire conference is really designed to talk about being in the light, not just personally, but globally, and to do it in a way where we can connect with each other, collaborate with each other, do things that we've never been able to do before because we weren't in the light, we weren't together in the direction that we wanted to go. Okay, could I have the next slide? Wonderful. Okay, thank you. Now I know you're hearing me. The light that we're in, of course, comes from God. I think everybody at this conference believes that. It's a direct result of God creating the universe that we live in. We know with great certainty that the creation of the universe led to all the light in the universe. It's hard to understand, but in that moment of creation, all of the light and all of the particles that were needed to create this gigantic universe that we're currently in were there. We can understand that process with scientific precision. It happened a long, long time ago, but amazingly, we can understand what happened 15 billion years or so ago by looking at the light that still is coming from the original creation event. Now, we haven't been able to prove scientifically that God created the universe. But I think here in this room, we all believe that, and I think 90% of the people in the world believe that God created the universe. But you can't prove it because time started at that point, space started at that point. Now, it's amazing that most religions believe that God created the universe. Almost all of them believe in a creation God, or even if they're multi-gods in their religion. And so that's a common belief. It's amazing that scientists can't agree on that, but religions can pretty much agree. There are a couple of religions that don't believe in a creation God, but for the most part, the ones that we run into all the time, Islam, Judaism, Hinduism, Christianity, of course, do believe in a common God. Not a common God necessarily, but a God that created. So given the fact that who created the universe, we all believe the same thing. Now, they disagree, generally, the religions do, and even within a religion like Islam or Christianity, there are so many different subgroups. They disagree, though, about who this God is or what this God is. I know that Catholics believe a certain amount of the Trinity, certain way around the Trinity, around God, the Holy Spirit, Jesus Christ. With Islam, it's Allah, Muhammad. With Judaism, it's different. So if you ask anybody, what does God look like? They may give you a very different answer, even though they all agree that God created the universe. Great. There might never be a common description of God, and so that I invented a term called Godlight, which I named the book, to get us away from trying to discuss God, where we might have a bunch of different approaches to it, or different ideas about what God is, to Godlight, so that we might agree on Godlight, the light from God. I think we all know that the light from God is hitting this universe, and so we can at least agree that light is a common denominator, and God is a common denominator, but the problems come in when you try to talk about a specific God. Even, yourselves, if someone asked you, what does God look like, you might have the people in this room might have a very different story about that question. Okay. Everything happens because of light. It's hard to really kind of conceive that it all started 15 billion years ago, but it did. And time and space were the first things that occurred in the millisecond after the Big Bang. But eventually, a long, long time, actually, billions of years, actually, our planet formed and our sun formed. And the planet was able to be captured by the sun, and because of the temperatures that were reaching the Earth, eventually we came along, okay? The whole idea that we came from nothing is not true. We came from the light and the planet, the resources on the planet. There's a feeling that maybe a lightning strike on a water area that might have a protein in it was the first creation of life. And then it took billions of years for that little life form to reach us in terms of our current, form and our capabilities and our intelligence. So, but everything is light. Interestingly, when you look at the universe, only 3% of it is observable. And that is, when you look at the sky, and I suspect it's clear sometimes in Nigeria, you can see all these stars, and sometimes you can see the planets. But frankly, it's only 3% of the universe is observable. Now, what's this 97%? Well, it's dark. It's the part that's not lit up. And so God, for some reason, decided that only 3% of the universe would be lit up. So because of that, we know that we exist, and it's because of a star, and it's because of a galaxy that we happen to live in. So everything is light. Can I have the next slide? nothing happens without light. There's a huge amount of the universe that have no light. Just like when your eyes are closed, you don't have any light at all. We could spend most of our time worrying about the dark part of the universe, but it's not going to do us any good. But we can study why the light from the universe has created the marvelous universe that we live in, and even more important, the marvelous planet that we live in, and nowadays, the marvelous lifestyle that most of the world lives in. Without that light, nothing would occur. Could I have the next slide? Without getting into the details, this is interesting the way this comes up. It's almost like how the universe might have come up, okay, from a small bit of light. Now, this isn't a real picture, obviously. It's a man-made picture, but it's one way of kind of reinforcing the fact that there was a beginning. It was all about light. It created a very messy universe in the first few seconds and first few days after the Big Bang. But amazingly, there was enough forces, there was enough processes, there were some laws that governed then how the universe originally came to be, the way it then led to the universe which was to be. So the blue part of this slide is really the way we see the universe today, with planets and stars and galaxies. And that's after a very long period of time since the actual universe was created. So again, it's light. I'm overemphasizing the fact that the role that light plays, because I believe it should be overemphasized. It should be something that we take for granted and also take advantage of. I think we do take for granted that the light of the universe is what keeps us going. It wakes us up in the morning. The sun is there. It heats up the planet. But we take it too much for granted that in us is light. And we have to start appreciating the fact that that light is something that we can utilize to join together, to love each other, and to do things that we can't do without that collaborative type of idea. 14 billion years, this is the universe, and I think God has been very patient. Amazing in our time, amazingly, it took that long to get to where we are today. And if one, we have to describe God in different ways. And if you really believe that he was there in the start, or God was there in the start, and 14 to 15 billion years have transpired, and here we are, that takes a long time. And so maybe he doesn't have the same time constant that we do, so maybe it just passed in seconds for him. But this is the way the universe is now. Okay, next slide. Now, we all know we start our life through conception, okay? Every human being starts off with the conception, the fertilization of an egg. And then from then on, it's pretty well determined by the DNA that exists in that first second or so after conception. It's very much like the universe. If God were to recreate the universe on a human scale, he would start off with something like a conception, and would most likely there would be built-in laws, and that's the DNA that we live in, that would result in what we become as human beings. So it's a process. It's obviously defined by certain rules, but we all started in the same way in conception, and we all actually show our capabilities today because of the light that we have been receiving on the earth over a long period of time. You might wonder about artificial light. Well, all artificial light is light that we human beings have been able to produce, but it originally came from God's light. It originally came from the light of the sun, because it was that light that created the fossil fuel, the oil, which then in turn allows us to do some artificial light. So we all started with the light, and we all continue to exist in the light. Next slide. Well, again, this is not a real photograph, but it's a rendering, I think, of how the world probably looked like as it evolved in the early phases of the evolution of the universe. Planets, suns, and then on the bottom, of course, maybe something that looked like our planet receiving light, and then giving us what we need to exist. Remember, conception is just the beginning. We do need to have the heat and also the products produced by the heat on the earth of life to sustain ourselves. So again, light weaves its way through our history, the long-term history of the planet and the current history of human beings on the planet. Next slide, please. So this is really what this conference is about, okay? I hope those first few slides in my discussion, which tended to be a little scientific, convinces you scientifically that we're all light. I know that the people in the conference room believe that spiritually we're light. There's so many references to light in the Bible. There's similar references to light in the Quran and in the Hindu scriptures. They all believe, all religions seem to believe that we are God's light spiritually. But yet we tend to forget that. And I think it's because when we look at another person, we see the differences between that person and ourselves. We see their colors, we see their gender, we see their height, we see the color of their eyes, okay, the color of their skin. And we tend to focus on, boy, that's different than me, or that's similar to me. And so we characterize our relationship with the other person predominantly by what we see returning from the light that's hitting them and reflecting and going into our pupils. And we forget the fact that overall, we're the same. All are the same. I don't know if you know this, but about 99% of the DNA of every human being in the world, the 10 billion human beings in the world, is the same. Our DNA is the same as the DNA of people across the ocean, people on a different continent, 99% of it. The small 1% difference is what makes us different. So when you look at a person, rather than saying, oh, that 1% is characterized as person by different colors or different genders, look at the fact that 99% of that person is the same as you. You are the light, they are the light. And so I think that's the most important part of Godlight, that whether or not you absolutely believe that God created the world, I know you all do, but some people don't, and how the world was created and how we evolved in a long period of evolution, whether you believe that exactly, I think you can believe that we all are pretty much the same. But it's easy to forget that, right? And that's the real wonderful part of this conference. We're going to be looking at the light that we all have, not only with respect to how we can love each other more, to how we can collaborate more, but also with respect to how we can be creative together, how we can do things together that we may not have been able to do as we look at our differences. Wouldn't it be nice if everybody in the world really saw each other as, children of light, children of God? And we know that's not true, but we can start with us, and we can start looking at each other from the standpoint of that we are God's light, we are the light. Next slide, please. This is the slide that I've used in the book, on the cover of the book. This is actually a picture of the lake that I live on at sunset. And I always think when that sunset arises that this is God's way of saying goodnight in terms of the colors sometimes that the sunset leaves with us. And of course, after the sun completely sets, the world is dark again. But that doesn't mean that light is not falling on us. Light is a very big, broad concept. Again, without getting into the science, it's pretty much everything you can think of. And that has led to, for those of you that are scientists, to quantum mechanics and the dual particle wave principle that light is based on. So it's a fascinating element, and yet it's one that clearly God has used to create the world. I've been using the term "be the light" as something that we would like to encourage in people. If we are the light, then it's going to be pretty easy for people to see us as the light. But I'd like to add another element to "be the light," and I'd like to add "see the light," S-E-E, the light. And I think we might have to see the light before we can be the light. And again, I'm not trying to confuse you with words, but it's really about looking at somebody and obviously appreciating what they are and what their achievements have been and who they are and the work that they have done in the world. Obviously, that's an important part of connecting with another human being. But if we don't connect at the most basic level, we'll run into differences that may break the bond, break the friendship. So the one encouragement I would give to everybody in the room would be to do both, to be the light, that is to shine yourself as much as possible, but also to look beyond the 1% difference that we have with each other to the 99% commonality that we have. I think sometimes when you meet a person, particularly if you meet a person for the first time, you connect with that person because you see something in them, and perhaps they see something in you that's very special, that's very magical. I think that's the light, as an example. And I think the more we can do that, the more we can get beyond the difference and see the basic commonality that we have, then we're going to be much better off. I'd like to end my presentation, and I'm certainly open for questions, but we started a little bit late. So how about the last slide?
Good on time.
We're really good at time.
How much are we?
15 minutes.
Okay. This is a prayer that I say every day. After I wrote the book, I wanted not necessarily to read the book every night, obviously. I wanted to remember some of the key points that I have sort of brought out in the book. And over the last 3 years, the Godlight Foundation, which was essentially USA for the first couple of years, now we have Godlight Foundation Nigeria and Godlight Foundation U.S., I guess. I wanted to have something simple, so I crafted this little prayer. God, let me absorb. God, let me reflect. God, let me understand. And God, let me be your light. And then let me spread your light and love throughout the world. I started saying it when I woke up. I now say it about 50 times a day. And the only reason I say it is really to remind myself. Obviously, I would like God's help in everything that we can possibly do in the Godlight Foundation. But on the other hand, it reminds me that when I see another person, let me absorb the light from that person. Let me reflect on that light. There's a wonderful phenomena in physics about light, okay? And I'm sure some of you have seen this or heard about it. Light can either resonate or it can actually conflict with itself. And so when it resonates, it becomes much more powerful than the single light wave, for example, that comes out of one. It gets amplified by the second one. So again, there's a lot of physics and science in what I've been saying, and I'm sure most of the people that follow me, and I know for sure, when Carl and Karen talk, they'll be into a broader definition of Godlight and some of the aspects that I haven't been able to cover. But I want to make sure that that's the fundamental message I think that we all want. It has been a miracle that in the last year, we went from barely knowing Sister Mary to this conference. I don't think that's by chance. I think that was God working his light, and she's always been a light to us, and hopefully we've been a light to her. And now what we want to do is share that light, spread that light throughout the conference, and we'll try to understand the question on the way here in America. But please be patient, and I'll sort of stop talking now and wait to see if there's any comments. Thank you.
Yeah, perfect. We have 15 minutes.
You can see you, by the way, in the conference room. It looks very bright.
Beautiful.
Lots of light.
Does anyone have a question or an area that they would like to discuss a little more? And you can use the chat if.
Is here.
What's that?
On Mark.
Yeah, thank you very much, Bart. I am BAC Obiefna, Reverend Father and Professor of Religion and Society and Human Relations. I would very much love to know the extent this project will help in global inter-religious dialogue so as to bring about a better, more stable, more harmonious global system that we find ourselves in now. As much of the problems that we experience in the world today appear to be religious laden or religious bent. That's the extent this project will contribute to overall interreligious dialogue for a better global system. Thank you.
Hello, Bart. Thank you very much for the wonderful presentation. This is Father Dr. Humphrey Anameje, the local organizing committee of this conference. I am in the Department of Religion and Human Relations. You have positively described human beings as the light of God. Rightly so. But in the world today, we see a lot of crime, disaster, and many evil being caused by human beings. Now, how will you qualify these human beings who constitute this evil? Since you only positively in your presentation, describe human beings as light. What is the remedy you are offering to assist these human beings who cause evil and disaster in the world? Thank you.
Yeah. Mine is a question somehow and a kind of clarifications. My name is Professor Sinado Ezogiri, Dean, Faculty of Arts, the host of this conference. Your presentation and everything about your outfit is black. Black. The logo, black. Cap, black. Blue. And we're talking about light. And then in the presentation, I don't know whether it is film trick or whatever, it was always red, red, red. No light. So I want a kind of clarification. While we are talking of light, we are presenting ourselves to be black, dark black.
I would like to request if someone could use the chat. Chat and send it to us, and then we could respond a little better.
It might just be conversation in the room.
Yeah.
Questions.
Are we into? When do you guys go on 7:15?
8:50, yeah.
So we have a couple of minutes. John Mark, can you hear us?
I can hear you very well, Bart.
Okay, good.
On their end, I had difficulty hearing with the microphone. There was a lot of echo.
Yeah.
And yeah, but it's great. It's going great.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jean Marc. You're on test case. Did you hear the talk that I gave?
Yes,
Yeah.
it was excellent.
Okay. Okay.
Bart?
Yes?
Oh, the Udemy link for the free course is available whenever you want it. I can share it.
Oh,
Free course.
sure. Yeah.
Should he put it in the chat?
Well, yeah, or share it. Yeah. Can you share?
In the
Yeah,
chat.
in the chat you could share, Jean-Marc. That'd be wonderful.
Okay, I will. Thanks.
Yeah. We could also show the song.
The what? Oh, yeah.
Seems like they are.
Yeah, well, if Jean-Marc can put his in, that might prompt other people to go for it.
It might, and maybe he'll do it later in the week.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, I say the week.
Yeah. I think they're someone's talking.
No, not now.
No.
I think when they're ready for me and Carl, they'll put our presentation up.
Yeah.
And then we'll, yeah, we're ready.
Yeah. Was that right?
Yeah, that was
Okay.
perfect.
To give them a little. Yeah.
It's very motivational. What a great kickoff.
How would you describe those people? Housebrand. Hello, this is Bart again, and we have a very interesting question from Father Dr. Humphrey Anamate about how come, if we're all the light, that there's some pretty dark people in the, and I don't mean the color of their skin, but they are not nice people, and what gets in the way. I think as hard as it can be, you have to get beyond the darkness of people, and that is very, very difficult, particularly with people who are truly very dark. And by dark, I mean very negative, very problematic. Some of them are actually dangerous people. And I'm not asking anyone to, go up to a dangerous person and, hug them and say they're the light. But I think just like we are born at conception, and in a way we are the most perfect little human beings that we can be at that conception, and then the DNA takes over, and then we become human beings. And along the way there may be little defects that are put into the DNA, but more importantly, after you're born, there's all kinds of temptations which tend to kind of a negative part of the person. in the core of that human being, in the core of their mind, in their soul, and I use soul often to be the source of the light in our body. That's what we really want to look at. That's what we really want to connect to. There's a scientific study that showed that at conception, I don't know how they do this, at conception, right at the moment of conception, light is emitted. A little tiny bit of light, naturally, it's a very small object that we're talking about here, is emitted. So I think we all start in the light. And then we get tempted, there are things that make us go the other way. And that's my only suggestion, that it takes effort. But if you're looking, you might just find more light in that darker person, and then you can expand that. Why the black outfit and red surrounding? Well, we are talking about light. That's an interesting point. Our shirts, and hopefully many of you at the conference have received a shirt like this, or a hat. And I hope a bunch of you students and even the professors have received a backpack for carrying books, a book backpack, and it has Godlight on it too. And yes, those are all dark shirts, and maybe we should wear yellow shirts, but we want to emphasize on our shirts the logo, Godlight, sun coming up and spreading light. And of course, dark is the best thing to put light on. So, yeah. Please excuse that.
Eventually, maybe our shirts become more and more yellow. The logo takes over,
yes,
the light spreads.
So, I don't know if you heard Karen, but eventually, as we wash our shirts, particularly with the bleach and the water, our shirts will become light. Wouldn't that be kind of a little miracle?
Can make the logo bigger and bigger.
Oh, that's true too.
Less dark and black, and more yellow and light.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say a little bit more while I have a minute left, that there will always be dark. 97% of the universe is dark, okay? But it's the light that comes out of it that makes everything happen. It's the light that really created us and our world, even though the universe is dark. So, yep, good point.
Tell them about the course if you want to, just.
Oh, all right. Just want to point out that Jean-Marc Chatoyan, who collaborated with us in producing Udemy course, has just put the access to the Udemy course on the chat screen. And if you do decide to do that, it's a long course, so I would not suggest you do it now during the conference, but after the conference or maybe this evening, please type in Godlight Nigeria as the coupon code. That will give you the right to use to see the unit without costing anything. Okay, 7:15. So I'm going to introduce, since we're here, my two colleagues, Carl and Karen, and they have been with the Godlight team for 3 years since we wrote the book. So a little bit of change of position here.
Do you want to take that?
Hello, everyone. Whenever you're ready for us, Carl and I are ready for our paper.
The chat question. It's really good at the chat. Oh, there you see.
Okay. All right, please, Onyeka, please make sure you get every questions. Everybody that wants to ask questions, please. Please let me quickly recognize one of our guests. Chief Jijoke Wajioha, an educationist and economist, and an alumni of Chukwuemeka Odumegwu Ojukwu University. Sir, you are welcome. Now we want to introduce our lead paper presenter in the person of Dr. Karen Williams Bartolome, the president and CEO Godlight Foundation. And to do this with her is Carl Jenta, the vice president and COO Godlight Foundation. And the topic is the transformative power of Godlight. Please, let's put our hands together for them.
Thinking about this for about a year, and very excited to be here. I'm getting a little bit of an echo. Our presentation, Carl and I will be talking to you today, examining the impact of Bart's working hypothesis, which he mentioned: if all the universe is light or Godlight, then so are we. So as we continue to consider scientific support and the spiritual references to perceive God as light, we're invited to expand our thinking, uplift our emotions, and fortify the ways that we live and relate to one another. You can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. We formed the Godlight Foundation a couple of years ago, and our mission is to support communication and the adoption of Godlight possibilities and opportunities throughout the world. And I did just see the comment or question in the chat about the relevance of the Godlight Project and the Godlight Foundation really in inter-religious dialogue for a better and more stable global society. And that is exactly the point, that individually and collectively, the more that we can agree on the scientific and spiritual evidence of light as the foundation for everything, then ultimately we can spread that light through the world, and the dream and the vision is to create a better and more stable global society with everyone in harmony. So on the next slide, actually, you will see our vision. And you'll see that our vision is really that prayer that Bart just talked about. And every time we talk about this, and even today, we continue to build on that. So when we think about, and actually I think about this in a little different order, right? So I think about, God, let me understand your light, right? Because first we have to really understand and kind of accept it and absorb it into ourselves. And then now I would add, help me see your light and reflect your light, be your light, and then ultimately spread your light and love throughout the world. So that is our vision. That could be a personal prayer. That's everything that brings us all together. On the next slide, as we dig into that, really absorbing and understanding the light, and this is just really a transition, but you'll see a lot of pictures repeated from Bart's presentation with Carl and I, and So most of these pictures are from the Godlight book. And if you go to the next slide, I wanted to talk just a little more about the book, which we've been talking with Sister Mary Amelia about shipping some books there for people to look at. But Bart mentioned the Udemy course. We also have an app that we can share after the conference, but it all comes back to this book, which was the start of it all. And this book is 13 chapters, and each chapter goes through a scientific support or explanation for some aspect or element of life, light, and then followed by a spiritual explanation, and then some possibilities. So in each of these very concise chapters, the book's pretty concise. The Udemy course is broken up into chapters or sections or lectures, right? And then also in the app, kind of chapter by chapter, and it helps us put the puzzle pieces together. So we have the scientific, the spiritual. We start off with possibilities because that's the idea of the whole book. And then we talk about opportunities throughout each chapter. And then chapter 13 actually is all about all of the various opportunities that come from these ideas. So you can see the 13 through them here, but we'll go through on the next few slides talking about some of the questions that can be answered if you're thinking about chapter 7, black holes and hell, or chapter 6, dark matter and mystery, or more optimistically, chapter 8, the universe and heaven. So it actually answers some of these questions that some of you have had, like what about darkness? There's darkness scientifically. To the book, like the Udemy course, the app, our website that we have. So we have a lot of resources. So for example, on the next slide, we can talk about some of those questions. So in chapter 1, for example, what if I am questioning my belief in God? Or in another chapter, who and what created the world? How can we reconcile the Big Bang with creation stories? And we won't go through, obviously, and try to answer these questions, but we believe that the book, the course, the app, the website can help us collaborate and talk about these types of questions and also answer these questions to create peace within ourselves and spread that peace. On the next slide, just some of the questions that can be answered in additional chapters in the book. How can we make peace with the fear of dying? How can we calm our fears of darkness, dying, and the unknown? And you can go on to the next slide. As I said, we won't answer these questions today, but you can dig into the book, the course, the app. On the next slide, we talk about additional questions. Is there an integration of universe and heaven? Is there life beyond Earth with the universe? So as a follow-up, we could really, we talked about having monthly calls. Book, right? And so the types of questions that we can answer. So with that, I am going to turn over to Carl, right, to start talking a little more about the scientific. We'll trade seats for a minute. Do you want me to move my laptop?
No, actually,
Or just turn the, yeah, you can stay here. Yeah, if you slide it there, and thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Great, and thank you, Bart, for setting the stage for what we're going to talk about throughout the whole conference, and a really great framework for, why does Godlight matter so much to all of us? When we see Godlight as the fundamental element of everything in the universe, then understanding, collaboration, mutuality, respect, and universal love become a reasonable possibility. This thought pattern actually suggests the possibility of living in an ideal world. So Bart opens this possibility that our ability to reason can fuel our faith journey, our spiritual journey. He invites us to choose harmony, inner peace, universal connection, human mutuality, union with God, connection with all living beings, instead of conflict, in every day, in every way. So Bart's fundamental hypothesis is about seeing the reasonable possibility that Godlight is the fundamental element of everything in the universe. Next slide, please. So this is it, fundamental hypothesis. If all the universe is light, Godlight, then so are we. Really powerful statement. We say it and believe it, it really does change our lives, the way we think, the way we feel, the way we behave towards one another. Next slide, please. In Bart's book, he does an amazing job of showing scientific and spiritual support for his hypothesis. There's far more items that he talks about than these things. These are the four that come to my mind right away, and I invite you to look at the book and see it in greater detail. Okay, so the law of conservation of energy, electromagnetic theory, quantum mechanics, Einstein's equation. So the scientific support for Bart's hypothesis is like this. So if you look at the law of conservation of energy, it suggests God existed before the Big Bang. With electromagnetic theory, light has a broad spectrum which encompasses everything in the universe. In quantum mechanics, everything, light, is both a wavelength and a particle. And then Einstein's equation, which I'm going to go in greater detail after this, is about energy, matter, and light integration. So here's one of the most magnificent things in the next slide, is about Einstein's equation. When I first learned about this equation, famous equation, I was fascinated with the idea of energy equals mass times the square of speed of light. Okay, that's how I learned it. But Bart invited me and all of us to take a closer look at this equation. It's a very different way of looking at it. Rather than seeing the equation in the typical form, Bart illustrates what happens when we look at the ratio of energy to mass. If energy to mass is, then everything is light times light. So all matter and energy is essentially light. A really powerful thing to say, okay, we're in the image of God, we're in the image of each other, we are so connected and so united. Next slide, please. So even taking it further, and this is why it matters so much, and I said with Dr. Bart's equation, everyone matters as light personified. And that's just a way of kind of like to say how important is this, like why do we care so much about this? So when again, Bart invites us to see the possibility that all of us are one with each other, with all of creation, and with God. So what if we are one with Godlight? We can embrace common humanity, appreciate our differences, and see the light in each other. We can see our interconnectedness, our thoughts, inspire our emotions, which fuel kindness for everyone. We choose harmony, inner peace, universal connection, human mutuality, union with God, love of all of creation, again, instead of conflict, every day in every way. So Bart's fundamental hypothesis is about seeing the reasonable possibility that Godlight is the fundamental element in the universe. Next slide, please. going to summarize this in the way of energy again, because we go back to energy and light, show Einstein's equation again. So energy in a given moment of time. So how is it that we can contemplate the amount of energy that exists in a given moment of time? So even the smallest amount of energy multiplies over time. Similarly, even the smallest act of loving kindness multiplies with time. So pure love multiplies. It never divides or contracts. Pure love reflects the abundance in our universe. Scarcity is an illusion when pure love is present. So serenity, peace of mind, and joy are characteristics of living with inner harmony. Love and gratitude are characteristics of universal connection as we realize our relationship to the whole. Next slide, please. And this will bring it back to Karen. And an interesting thing, we talk about the logic of science to support Godlight. The spirituality is also very logical in observational way, and Karen will really walk us through this.
And I love that image because that's actually a picture that I took at the beach down the road from where I live just a few weeks ago. And we had actually had, for the first time in, I think, almost 100 years, a big snowstorm in this area of Florida, which is in the south of the United States. And then 2 days later, we were out at the beach and it was nice and warm and sunshine, and I was taking some photos of the peace and the serenity there, and this cross appeared in the sky. So it was absolutely gorgeous, and we continue to add to our collection of photos that we think really depict Godlight on our website and on our Facebook page and all of that. But Carl talked a lot about the scientific support. And this is really, the book touches on some of the spiritual support. And as we all expand our thinking and try to see light in every individual, regardless of their spiritual beliefs, we continue to learn more and more as well about various religions and groups and thoughts around the world. So in Judaism, of course, the Old Testament has 200 references to God as light. In Christianity, over 100 references. In the New Testament, in the Quran and the Islam faith, Allah is defined as the light of the heavens and the earth. Hinduism, the Festival of Lights, or Diwali, is a celebration of the victory of light over darkness. And we could go on and on about Buddhism and various other global faiths and spiritualities. But really, trying to understand the light scientifically, spiritually, and think about those opportunities and possibilities. It's really about, on the next slide, finding meaning and inner peace. And the next slide talks about how those are at the core of our search for answers. We devote so much of our lives to managing uncertainty and gaining comfort with it. When we have that darkness, when our eyes are closed or blinded by anxiety or anything, both science and spirituality can help us manage that uncertainty in life. And spirituality also has the added benefit of helping us make peace with it. Now, Godlight offers us an array of possibilities for answering all of those questions that can really haunt us. How is the universe created? What is our purpose? How do we know God exists? Who is God? And so, ultimately, Carl has been kind of helping us as a team ponder this possibility of heaven on earth. And when we perceive inner harmony and universal connection, we can realize tremendous joy. And that's what we think of as heaven on earth. As we reflect on those times in our lives when we are immersed in the moment, we're fully content. If we're not worried, afraid, or anxious, we can focus. And when we're free of frustration, jealousy, and resentment, we are fully present. When we feel inner peace, we're filled with gratitude for what we have, for those who have touched our lives, and the opportunity to show our love for the people in our lives and the light that we see in them. We can notice the gifts and the desire to love in others and in ourselves. On the next slide, Godlight can bring us closer to inner harmony and universal connection. We're invited to expand our thinking and uplift our emotions and fortify the ways we live and relate to one another. Next slide, please. Godlight can bring us closer to inner harmony and universal connection. You've seen this before. You've seen this thought before. Experiencing God as light can help us solidify our understanding of the universe. And that's actually the next slide. While offering us contentment as we explore the vast unknown. And on the final slide, ultimately allows us to be the light. And once again, it all comes back to that vision that we have, that personal prayer that Bart wrote and shared for us. God, let us absorb your light, reflect your light, understand your light, see your light in others, as I'm now adding, and be your light. And let me spread your light and love throughout the world. I see a couple of questions in the chat. Thank you. Jean-Marc, thank you for sharing the video, and we'll, I hope Sister Mary Amelia, Onyeka, others could share this link to the YouTube video. This is a great introduction to the concepts behind Godlight, and it goes back to that hypothesis that Bart and Carl and I have been talking about. And thanks, Joe, for sharing about the equation. And I love the addition that you're suggesting of constant light, right? And I think we are just slightly ahead of time. So, Onyeka, Sister Mary Amelia, if anyone has any questions and they could put them, type them into the chat, would be happy to entertain any questions. And I will take another moment to just express gratitude and love for everything that Sister Mary Amelia, that Onyeka, and all of the wonderful sponsors of this beautiful conference. It really is a miraculous dream come true, and an opportunity for us to continue to dig into understanding the light and then thinking about all of the possibilities within society and within our everyday lives, internally and collectively, externally. I feel bad, I'm covering up the little bit of light that I do have in my focus in and get closer to the
Okay, please, if you have any question, please indicate so that you can ask your question. Please put your hands together for them.
Thank you.
Please, any questions from the audience?
I have a question.
Okay.
Yes.
It's for all three of you, Karen, Carl, and Bart. So, can you share what's your vision how Godlight and the Godlight Foundation can have an impact on people who are listening to this conference in Nigeria and people in Nigeria in general? What's your vision for the Godlight Foundation in Nigeria?
Bart, would you like to answer that, or the vision for the Godlight Foundation in Nigeria?
Well, I really hope that The Godlight Foundation Nigeria, Sister Mary Amelia will be creating, already created to some extent, will be expanding after this conference, will show the practicality of Godlight to the potential of more collaboration. I believe that collaboration is the key to us living harmoniously as well as at peace with each other. It's unfortunate that collaboration is not even considered in most discussions. But if you see the other person or the other group as really being fundamentally created by God and Godlight, it makes it easier to join together in efforts. So a lot of the papers that follow this initial set of two will deal with the application of Godlight. And while the application isn't some formula or some device or some electronic mechanism, it really is, if we can actually see each other in common with us. 99% of us are the same as everybody else. It opens up possibility. It doesn't automatically make it happen. People that have been enemies forever, and I know in your part of the world as well as ours, there are issues between people that can't agree to the point where it gets very violent. But if we can just break through that a little bit. I've done a lot of work in my life on collaboration, independent of the work on Godlight, and I do know one thing, that you can accomplish much more with collaboration than you can with competition or just not even engaging in possibility. So I love what Sister Mary and others have put together for this conference, because it's the application of Godlight. We could talk, the first two papers have been generally what Godlight is and our theory and our fundamental hypothesis. Now, what can we do? I'm looking forward to hearing those discussions.
Thank you.
I've got a follow-on question to Karen. So following your response, thank you, Bart, for your response on the application, the practical application of Godlight for everyone and people, specifically people in Nigeria. My question, Karen, I really resonated with the concept of bringing heaven to earth and the inner peace and the mutuality, respect, cooperation, collaboration. So can you expand on that? How, if you can just speak from the heart and tell us more about that aspect, please.
Yeah, and Carl, please feel free to chime in, because this is something that we've been talking about a couple of times, and actually even with the slide, I was just thinking, it's this whole concept of Godlight has evolved so much, and even thinking about our vision for the foundation in Nigeria and for really continent by continent, country by country, sharing these ideas throughout the world. It reminds me a lot also of a book that I read called The Book of Joy, that was written by the Dalai Lama in conjunction with Archbishop Desmond Tutu of the Anglican Church in the United Kingdom. And it's all, that same concept, but really it's all about becoming the light, being the light, spreading the light. And so there are global benefits to that, of course, and we have a very aspirational vision, right? That this could be huge, like the comment in the chat, right? With light, there could be love and end war in the world and full-time serving God, all of this. But also we've done a lot of reflection on how individually can that give us that inner harmony and peace. So there's the external universal connection, but then the internal harmony and this possibility of heaven on earth covers both, I believe, both an individual and a collective aspect of heaven. So the more, it takes, we start off as a small group, and if each of us connect with, 7 people times 7 people times 7 people, then we have this aspect of, an ever expanding, I would say, heaven on earth, and getting immersed in the moment, taking the time. I love the addition part of see the light in others. I mean, it's kind of implied, but to just make it very conscious and really, reprint the prayer with see in there to remind us every day to look for that. That will allow us to really immerse ourselves in that and give us that inner peace and gratitude, but also spread that light, which is really the peace and gratitude that we have. And Carl, I know you've thought a lot about this. I would love for you to.
And I'll be brief because we have, so many ways to kind of cover this here. I think the thing with what Dr. Bart has done for us so beautifully is the power of connecting. So much of our discontentment is feeling disconnected. So when people feel disconnected from others, there's jealousy, there's competition, because you think you're separate. But realize if you're together, you're celebrating the success of your brothers and sisters. You're so happy for them. But if you're not connected, there's a little, why did they get there? Are they just lucky? And there's that jealousy aspect that doesn't bring out the best in others. So people, if you can overcome this sense of we're not connected, or I'm maybe feeling inferior because you're better than me, and we don't want to harm others in that way. You're gossip about them, do anything negative. So it's almost the opposite of the negative to be, we are one, we celebrate the joys of each other, and we have deep compassion in the pain for each other, because as we feel the pain, we want to help with it, but we also celebrate the joy. But that heaven and earth is like we are connected. The lack of heaven and earth is feeling a disconnection. So everything that I see Bart do scientifically and spiritually is to point out to the connection and the collaboration. And we learn from each other. We build the best ideas going forward. So it's like to heal the divine disconnection so we can live as in heaven and earth. So I'm
Let me add one other aspects to that, and that is I've been trying to show or remind people what it is to be the light and to share the light. Because, at various times in our life, we are the light. And I think of two examples. One is when you fall in love. And regardless of what that relationship is, there's a period of time when you fall in love with another person. And it's not really age dependent, although most of us fall in love early in our lives and continue to love that. But there's a point where you look at the other person that you're in love with as if, they're perfect, they're magical. We know that's not true, but you feel that, and they feel it with you. An interesting, scientific experiment is watching people who claim they're in love. They have to really be that way, and watching their communications, and it's much less than other people's communication. In other words, when you're in the presence of somebody that you love, words are not necessary. And you see two people, even older people, just looking at each other and surviving, or young people just so madly in love that they just, they stop doing everything but just thinking of that. Now, I don't know if you can go back and feel that period of your life when that happened, but it's not a bad thing to try to recollect. There is a theory that says if you can go back to when you felt the light, that you were the light, it'll be easier for you to recreate it. And the second one, which all of us haven't participated in, but a lot of us will, is when a new baby is born, okay? I mean, the conception happens 9 months before then, but you only see the new baby 9 months later. And if you just look at the mother or the father looking into the eyes of that baby, that is being the light. The baby's being the light naturally. That's interesting. It's just when you get older that you lose being the light because you stop focusing on the differences. But the baby is actually, showing that light, his or her light, But the mother, the grandmother, the great-grandmother, which is our situation here, falls in love with that baby and only sees beautiful things, even if there might be warts or, you know, bad things on the baby. It's just something that I think if you can go back and feel that before you talk to another person, it might be a helpful practice, you know, because if we're going to apply the application of Godlight, as you will be talking about for the next 2 days, to solving political problems or, you know, financial, economic problems, we have to start from the fundamental, I love these people and we can work together. And there's no better examples in my mind, and maybe you can find some, than two people falling in love or the birth of a new child to that family. So practice that, and then you can practice with tougher people than new babies.
Thank you so much, Karen, Carl, and Bart for your responses. I just see there's a great question in the chat from Reverend Professor Silvanus Nuruka. Sorry if I pronounced it wrong. So the question is, I have heard a lot about Godlight, and since it's now an international foundation, we would like to know the origin of it. Did it start from life experience, family arrangements, or a vision from God? I know Bart, you talk about this in our Udemy course, but please, if you can enlighten us on the origins of Godlight.
It's actually all of the above, which is kind of amazing. The interesting real stimulus was when I became 80 years old. I'm 84 now. It occurred to me that I had pursued two different, you know, major paths in my life. The scientific one, which was my work and, you know, my education and all of that. And then I've always been a spiritual person. I happen to be a Roman Catholic, in which I think a lot of the people in that room might be. But I've been I've been close to people from very different religions. I have read about them. I actually practice some religions with other people, and so two paths. And I asked myself, they don't connect. I mean, at least I had not explored the connection. And then when I began to look for connections, it's kind of like something, if you don't look for the color red, there's a game in America where you look for automobiles that are a certain color, and you go, oh yeah, there's a yellow one. And what's always amazing is you find out more than you thought you would, because there are more examples than what you think you would. And so if you begin to think that way, look that way, see the possibility, there might be some connections. So that's I think the other part that was really powerful is that I began to hear from God and talk to God in a very specific way. I took time from my early morning prayers and my evening, prayers before I went to bed to actually talk to God. And I heard in my own voice, in my own mind, his response, and it was, go do this. Go show people that they are the light, and also get people to understand that they can see and be the light. I'm not claiming that was a miracle, or, I'm not trying to connect myself with people who have truly experienced, miracles. But for me, that's what led to, let's write a book now, as opposed to just talking to it. And the more people, hear about this, the more I think people like the fact that there's a common denominator, as opposed to all of the differences that we have. So yeah, it was all of those.
Thank you, Bart.
That's right. Yeah. All right.
There's sorry, I just jump in lastly, there's a nice comment in the chat by Joe Gamal. I'll just say it verbally. So he says, the notion of Godlight is a unifying concept, unifying faith, unifying science and faith. When we realize we share commonality, it opens up possibility for collaboration. If we can look approximately, we see the light of that commonality. This is a primer and potential enricher of our ability to come together and create or co-create our ideas and solutions to our challenges and opportunity. Maybe that's one way Godlight is activated. Thank you, Joe.
That's great. Who was the author of
Joe
that?
Godlight.
Oh, Joe Godlight. Yeah, thank you, Joe. And by the way, thank you, Joe, and anybody that is joining us, not from the United States here or Nigeria, as paper.